All right, this week's episode comes to you from Tagged Out Tavern, which is Kevin Poulos' bar. He built in his basement during the pandemic to extend his trophy room a little bit. Awesome project. We talk a little bit about that. We're joined by Pat Trainor, another good friend. Both these guys regulars on the podcast. Kevin's been on, I think, 3 or 4 times now, including the first episode ever. Pat and I both watched Kevin's YouTube page, Tagged Out Productions, quite a bit. And Kevin was a local celebrity to us, and Kevin took us under his wing a little bit. Talked a lot of hunting, loves to share it, so he's a mentor to both of us. And last year, Pat and I both did an episode with Kevin talking about our back-to-back 9-pointers we got on back-to-back days last year. Kevin was proud of that. Pat and I were both proud of that. And then this year, we're doing a similar podcast, recapping the season. We both killed 2 nice bucks, and Kevin, unfortunately, didn't get a deer. So we talk a little bit about his season. He had to change up quite a few things, lost a spot last minute that's been a go-to productive spot for him over the years. So Kevin's looking forward to the 2022 season because he's been scouting most of this past season here. And, we talk, have a great conversation over a couple of beers, some of Kevin's summer sausages. And before we get into that podcast, I do want to mention I just got back from the Springfield Sportsman Show. Pat Burns and I were at the Hunt Stock booth, spreading the joy of Hunt Stock, talking about what's going to be happening this year. And I got to say, there's just been so much awesome excitement about the event, a lot of buzz, a lot of momentum. We made some great deals with people that are going to be helping us market the event. Some awesome attractions coming. We basically just had an awesome event. I couldn't explain it any better than that. Met a lot of great listeners. People came up and putting face to the names of some of you guys that listen week in and week out, and it was great hearing from everybody. And we're just really looking forward to Hunt Stock. Hunt Stock got a lot stronger this weekend. So we're going to make some announcements, one of which it's not official yet, but there's a farmer in town in Westminster who I met. He just happened to walk by and say, "You got an event going on in Westminster? I haven't heard about it yet." And we started talking, and he wants to I asked him, "How do you feel about having campsites and RVs on your farm? Would you be open to that?" Because I got a lot of people reaching out about that, and he said he would be open to it. So I got to have a conversation with him. I got to work out a few details. But as he said it, I think he has hookups for 30 RV sites there. And he'll have some space for some tent campsites. Again, I got to figure out all the final details. It's not set in stone, but when it is, we will put together some packages, very limited edition. It might be 30 RVs and 30 tent campsites. And I will let everybody know the day that I'm going to put those up there because I think they will sell out fast. We've got a lot of inquiries about that. So that's exciting because I really do want camping to be a part of this event, whether it's this year or all the future installments of Hunt Stock. So I was really excited about that one. We got some cool stuff like live butchering of deer and doing some deer workshops on butchering deer at the event that might be happening. Met some great chefs. A chef from Hell's Kitchen was at the event, and he wants to come and do some cooking over fire demonstrations. And, we came out of this event, Pat and I, both saying, just bolstering what we've been thinking about this event the whole time, right? We want it to be something unique. We want it to be everything that other events are not. There's a place for many different types of events. We just want to do something different. But also, we want everything to be an experience at this event. We don't want it to be like all the other shows, walking up and down aisles, you buzz through, you're there for 45 minutes or an hour and you leave. We want you to stay all day, experience a bunch of different cool stuff. So, every exhibitor that's going to be there, every sponsor, they're going to have some kind of a cool hands-on experience. So that's all part of it. Anyways, I rambled on quite a bit, but I knew I had a lot of lead in. We had a lot of pre-podcast talking here before we jumped into it. So thanks for listening. Let's get into this podcast with Kevin Poulos and Pat Trainor. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. Another episode of Hunt Suburbia podcast. And we're in Tagged Out Tavern for the first time ever doing a podcast. You've had this room for a while, huh, Kevin?
Yep.
But
Yep.
what's the story in
Couple
this room?
So this was a COVID project, and this used to be my kids' playroom, and I have to thank I have to give some credit to Chad from Backyard Sense. He was the catalyst to this. Whether he doesn't even know it, but he was, because I had a slab. I was always going to put a bar top in here. I wasn't going to build a bar room, but I was going to put a bar top in, and I had an old crappy one out there that I didn't really like, and then I saw he posted up some slabs that he was selling, and I just went and bought it. I said, "Oh, I'll buy that, and that'll be, down the road whenever I'm going to do a bar. I'll have it here." And I bought it, and
so that was the whole first piece of the whole thing.
That was the first piece, and I just kept looking at it sitting in the garage, and I'm like, then I sanded it, and then I said, all right, let me think. I'm going to start on this. So I started tearing my kid's play area up, which he didn't like, but and then got that piece in here, and next thing you know, I just built the whole room instead of just a bar table.
He's going to like it when he's like
That's
15,
what I said to
16,
him.
his friends start coming over. It's like the cool place.
That's what I said to him. I said to my wife,
especially with the hot tub out there.
I say that to my wife all the time. I said, he hates this now that I just tore up his toy box, but I said in a few years he'll be bringing his girlfriend down here and get the hot tub and the bar. And she doesn't like that, but
it's definitely going to be utilized. We'll do a slow pan and show the whole room, because Kevin did a really awesome job with not just this little room, but in there, his whole trophy room. It looks really cool, so we'll do that. I know last time I was here we were supposed to do a quick something of that, but we ended up just drinking beers and having too good of a time to turn on the camera. Yeah. Had probably the best conversation ever out in that hot tub, talking about all the college stories.
Yeah, I know. That should have been recorded.
Yeah. We got Pat Trainor here too, obviously. We both have done podcasts together. We did one just like this last year. Kevin, obviously, I think it's your third or fourth time on the podcast now. But Pat had a great year this year, killing 2 slammers. We just did green scores upstairs, and what did they score?
124 and 126 and something.
Yeah, 123 and 5/8, I think, and 126 and 5/8, right?
Sounds good to me.
They were both really
not a
nice
big fraction
deer.
guy, not a big
totally
fraction
different
guy.
looking deer with almost very similar
almost
scores.
the same measurements.
Yeah, actually, pull that one up real quick.
Do you mind holding?
Yeah. I hold this, you hold that.
Yep.
So that's basically at 7 scoreable points, almost only 6.
Yeah,
but super wide.
Definitely broken off a little bit on the brows there.
But 23 inches wide.
23 inches wide.
Oh, yeah. That was a fun one.
Was that the first buck you got last year?
That was the second.
The second buck?
Yeah, the first one I got November 5th. I think that one was November 15th.
Okay. So we'll show the other one too, but we'll talk about let's go through that first that first buck. So what was the whole experience set up on that? Did you know about that deer?
Yeah, so I set up, there's this one community scrape on that property. It's been there since I was, 17, 18 when I started hunting there. But I would always hang a camera there, get good deer on there. Never really paid attention to hunting that area. In the last couple of years, I started focusing more on that area. Clearly, they like hanging out there more. So I had that 10 on camera pretty regularly, usually just in the evening hours, but it was kind of right after last light, everything like that. But, I had 7 or 8 bucks hitting that scrape frequently. So I just, had the day off, decided I'm going to go set up there. So I set up, and I got in there a little late because as I'm walking in, I was trying to be quiet, and I just hear, does blowing at me, and obviously the morale started sinking at that point because I'm like, this day's ruined. So I got to cross some power lines, get down. Then I go down this little draw. Went there, set up about 30 yards from the scrape, I'd say. Got up there a little late. It was already light when I got up in the tree, unfortunately. But no more than 10 minutes after that, I hear, some trotting from out across, and I see a doe come in. And she's just, trotting along. And I hear the mer, 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 mer. And I looked up, and I saw a buck. I didn't know it was him at the time. But he was coming right in after. She came right in, 15 yards, just right at me, just pegged me. And I was like, well, here we go.
Oh, she saw you?
Well, yeah. So I was in my saddle. I had my bow on the right side of the tree. My shooting lanes were primarily on the right side. But when they were coming in, I guess I should have been a little more subtle with it. Pulled the bow. I had to go over to the left side of the tree to where they both went over, and she probably picked me off there. But so he comes in. He was kind of skittish when he heard her blow or whatever. But I see him, and then he starts coming over to my left. So I go, and he gets 15 yards, head down. I decide to draw. Nope, picks his head up, looks right at me, and he boogied. Ran 30 yards up the ridge. Looked, saw her, she didn't really move, and then just decided he was going to come right back in. So this went on for, I have it on film, like 9 minutes and 47 seconds, I think. I drew back and let down twice on him, and this whole time she's still staring at me, and I have 2 other deer behind me blowing. So I didn't really think anything was going to come out of it. He eventually just decided he was going to hop on that cart road, kind of where that scrape was. And he came in, and not the smartest shot, I'd say, but I thought I could have snuck it in there. So he was quartering to me, and I kind of shot right through his chest plate here, and he ran. I mean, I FaceTimed you right after.
I
think
go far.
No, I watched him pile up. So I'd say no more than 50 yards, but he just went right there, and that was it on that one. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it was.
That was the first time going in there
That was
right?
that was my
this year.
technically my first hunt of the year. I went down there and scouted like a week prior, and it looked good. Pulled the camera. I was like, hey, you know what? They love this area for one reason, and I mean, shame on me for the years past for never focusing on that area when I knew there were deer there. But that's a different story.
And again,
for a
it's the
different day.
spot we met at, right? It's like the same area.
Yeah, so literally
it's that same like little spot.
50 yards left of where I was is where Kevin and I
Yeah,
where it
so
all started.
how did you and Kevin meet again? Because Kevin and I both met on farmersonly.com, and I don't know how you guys met.
He skipped over me on there, but so I was just down.
You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I think I was on the 4-wheeler or something.
Yeah,
just
no,
driving.
I was moving a stand, and I was hunting down below here by my house.
Yeah.
And I just said, I always wanted to go up above there. There's no posted signs. I said, I want to go up above off the power lines and just check it out. So a lot of the deer had moved out of here. So I just said, they got to be up there somewhere. So I just threw my sticks and my stand, took it down. I carried it up. I walked down in this area where he's talking about. It just happened to be down in that area. And there's plenty of woods up there, but just one little corner. Put the stand and sticks down, went down this little thicket area right where his deer died last year. I was like, this looks like a good spot. There's some rubs in here. I'm like, it could be some bedding in here. I'm like, I'm gonna go back, look around. I walk back to my sticks, and hear a 4-wheel come. Like, oh man! I'm like, what am I on a camera somewhere or something? And I was all ready for like somebody to be yelling at me. And he came down. And he was like, hey. I'm like, how you doing? I don't even remember what he said, but he was very nice. He was like, I was like, okay, he's no attitude. And I think he mentioned he's his family's property or something like that. I was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't see any posted signs. He's like, oh, no problem. I was like, I go, do you have a stand in here? And he's like, and he started talking. He's like, you have a YouTube page? He was like right in the middle of that. He's like, I was like, as soon as he said that, I'm like, okay, all right, this is gonna go okay. He's like, and so then and then that's right where. That same corner. He shot his deer last year and shot his deer this year. It was like that. Remember, it died like right where we met. It was just all that woods. It was just. I thought that was kind of a cool coincidence.
That is awesome.
It was a sign. Should have hunted there the whole
killed
time.
bucks there 2 years in a row now, or just
2
So
years in a
the
row.
9 from last year, I was higher up on the ridge, and then this year I kind of just went right down on it, hunted right off that scrape. That scrape was on fire, like I was saying.
But see now, Pat, if I didn't run into him that day, I would have been hunting there, and I would have shot those.
Yeah,
deer.
and if you didn't have a YouTube page,
That's right.
I'm just saying I've had bigger deer that have disappeared. Never seen them again. They might be on the wall here. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, Kevin's YouTube page, Tagged Out Productions. He was when I first started like trying to figure out Massachusetts hunting. You search Massachusetts hunting videos on YouTube, like all of us have a million times.
Oh yeah.
And Kevin's were popping up, and not very many pages at all. I think
They weren't
you know.
really. Well, you know what? It's not even there weren't any pages. It was anything that I could find was just like 1 or 2 videos. Like somebody would just
Yeah, there were no
film, like,
channels
one hunt they
specifically
had.
for it.
I always thought my videos were boring. Like
No,
Except
we watched all of your
except for
videos.
the-
I
Well,
still
before we
watch
even
them. I'll be
mentioned-
honest. I still watch
Well,
them.
it's
man.
funny
Like, I'll be at
because,
work
like,
bored. I just get
except
on
for
them.
some of the kills that I got on, and I got lucky with getting on video. Like, I always thought they were too long. I'm like, nobody's gonna watch these, so I said, I was saving them for myself, and then people would start messaging me, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I guess some people watch it.
Yeah, I loved your
Now
page.
everybody's
Yeah.
got it.
In other news,
still watch
Kevin is now on the Instagram.
Oh yeah, watch out! I'm all over it.
OnlyFans coming soon, but he's on the gram now.
That's right, all over it.
Yep. Kevin's finally on Instagram. He's
Is it Tazzy Twos? Is that?
Tagged Out Productions.
Oh,
Tagged Out Productions. What'd you post up today? You posted a little video of us scoring this deer, right?
Oh yeah, we got Pat's gonna take up scoring, so we got him scoring.
I'm just gonna be a green scorer.
I'm sure there was some. I'm sure
That's all that
someone's probably
I'll do
gonna
it for
watch
a
it
beer.
and critique it, what you were doing, but.
I'll do it for a beer, and we'll get a little short video and throw it up on the old YouTube page.
there you go.
Kevin, we'll get into your second deer after. But actually, no. Let's keep going with this one. I want to know, like, did you know that deer? Did you know him?
The second deer?
No, the
First one
the
that
first
we-
one that you shot.
Yeah. So
When he
I
came
mean,
in, were
I
you like,
had,
oh, that's so and so?
At first, I didn't. He had a pretty big body on him.
Yeah.
I think he dressed at around 176 or 178, I forget. But so he came in, he dwarfed the doe, and I was like, he's a good buck. When he came over, and the first time I drew back, when he picked his head up, I thought I kind of saw that split, and I'm like, I think that might be him. Either way, I wasn't really being too picky. It was a good deer in my book, so I was on him. But when I walked up, and it was like, oh, it is the 10. That's awesome.
Yeah, because you sent
Like,
this video of the camera that we put up.
Yeah, we were
Like
texting.
a week later, and
Yep.
you're like, oh, that camera I put up, look at all these bucks. You had 2 bucks fighting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that split that one there a couple times anyways. I
Yeah,
think you had.
he was the biggest I had on camera there. I'm sure there's bigger ones on that property, or at least that passed through. But I kind of had my sights set on him, so I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah.
First time in there.
And
It's
you got a
unbelievable.
great
First-
spot there now. I mean, now you know it's like that's going to be one that can produce year after year.
Yeah,
Right?
and I
It's
mean,
2 years in a row. You've got all kinds of. You
Yeah.
just hunt that freaking annual
that
scrape.
corner.
and it's literally just a protected pocket
Yeah,
for
that
him. That
little corner
you
there,
got
there's
some
no
houses
doubt.
blocking it, and there's a major highway going by. So it's just,
Yep.
I mean, that's your
Where
bread
are
and
they
butter right
betting
there.
in consideration of that little corner? People don't.
So yeah, I
Betting
mean,
near the houses, and you're just 500 feet off, or how far away are you from the houses?
I'm easily I'm the 500 all day. But I can see them. It's
so
not
you're
really
sneaking
too
in
thick.
kind of close, so there might be bedding up next to those houses.
Yeah,
and
and
you're-
based on the cameras, I run my cameras video because I can usually see where they're coming from. And my camera was, facing the south, and they were always coming from the northwest. They're always coming in from there, and it only makes sense that they were bedding right up on behind those houses there.
That sounds
And
pretty damn good.
Well, if you remember,
Coming from the northwest with northwest prevailing winds and
It's-
knowing where they
it
bed,
was-
that's nice.
Well, that's another thing. Now, when that day, I don't even pay attention there because regardless of what it dominantly is, I mean,
it's gonna swirl. In there, I
It
bet.
swirls like
Yeah, that
crazy
little,
there.
Little bowl
Well,
kinda
you have the
area.
bowl, you have the highway, the power lines. It's this little pocket, and I mean, with thermals and everything in the morning, you I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I just figured my scent would be going up as the temperature was rising, but I don't know. It all worked out.
They're definitely bedding. I mean, they're bedding right there.
Yeah,
I mean, when he shot, if you remember the story from when he shot his buck last year, when we were tracking it, and I have it on film too. I think I was filming the tracking, and he says to me,
I think we
"Oh,
just
there
kicked
he
him up
is."
again.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
shit, there he is.
What? And he's like, "There he is. He's standing right there," and I couldn't see anything, And I'm like, "Where?" And he's like, "Oh, there's 2 of them. He's with another buck, and there were 2 other bucks."
Yep.
And they all probably had been bedded in there.
Satellite bucks coming to check it out. You didn't have your bow with you.
No.
No, I mean this poor
Next time
guy.
you creep
I
in
was
there, you
probably
gotta
in
have
my
it with
underwear.
you.
I was like watching my kid that day, and he texted me, "Just shot a big one, shot a nice one." I'm like, "All right, Chase, you're here." Oh no, I was doing math with my kid. Is what I was doing. I was doing math with him.
You should have
I said,
taken him
"Chase,
out
hold
there."
off, figure it out on yourself right now. I gotta go get a buck."
Yeah.
Chase, the answers are 0. Just
Yeah.
put 0.
But yeah, no, we ran in there, but that was a quick extraction too. That was cool.
Yeah, but that property is
But
definitely
they
showing
definitely
me.
bed in there.
Yeah, and it's showing me that those overlooked areas that you don't usually think about looking at, it's worth, poking around to see what you get in there, because there's kind of in the dead center of that property, there's I wouldn't call it a swamp, but it's, thick cover, there's a little creek running through, and you look at it, you're like, obviously they're going to bed here. And I'm sure some do, you know, but primarily they see those houses and that's their cover, that's their protection.
And the highway, they like bed next to highway.
Oh yeah, and I mean there's it's like a fourth travel lane right up next to the highway. They just run
like that,
all up on there. So
that same side of the highway there with it. Well, now you can't hunt there now, but that spot over by where we used to hunt over there. Remember all the rubs and all that bed and sign that was all right against the same highway. Mm-hmm. It's just on a different area, but the same highway.
Yeah, it's crazy how they adapt to the different infrastructure and everything that goes on. Like I mean, they make it work for years, but
yep, they figure it all out like that. So 2 nice bucks out of there in 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you got more in there. There'll be another one next year.
God, I hope so. I mean, that's
nobody's hunting there either. Not during bow.
No, I mean I have some family, but it's more
because he bullied you out of there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, he told me never.
Don't believe me. I mean,
he's like, we can be friends, but you can't.
No, well the thing is,
you cannot step a foot up
I
here.
thought it would be completely innocent for him and I to go turkey hunting.
Oh yeah, that's
stubborn Polish family I come from. Property is my property, you know. So he got lit up once by my uncle, and
really?
I'm just like, you know who this guy is, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
The only thing you do have to worry about is that other guy that moved into that house that we ran into, who dragged his buck out, remember?
Oh, yeah. So last year, this kid just randomly came out in the road. It was dark out. Who the hell? Like, who is this guy? He's like, oh, I just moved in the neighborhood. Like, where'd you get that, deer? It's nice. I'm just getting into hunting. And I'm like, 1, where did you come from? 2, I'll tell you, but, like, what's going on? And he was thinking about hunting the same area there. And I kind of told him, like, I really don't care. I'm not super overly protective and stuff like that. Like, it's not posted.
My family might
I don't care. I do the same.
20 gauge in your.
Yeah, like that's. I mean, yeah. He would just text me. I'd be at work. He's like, yeah, well, some guy just came down on a 4-wheeler screaming at me. I'm like, I know who that is right now. Like, it's whatever. But hopefully, we can mend some broken bridges and get you hunting out there. I mean, it's plenty big enough the property.
Out of there. That place is loaded.
Big toms out there.
Yeah, you guys are probably getting a little fired up for turkey season already.
Well, if I get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how this.
Pat's got a baby on the way. Yep.
End of April, so.
Oh, end of April. Well, you know what, dude?
Just ended. His hunting career just put a hiatus.
When the babies are like right when they're born, there's not much like it's if you can be a relief shift and for your wife to take naps and stuff, and if it's like. The mother does 80%.
It's her show.
You're kind of like sous chefing, the whole first year, just getting her what she needs.
I'm going to have to show her this podcast. It's not just me telling you this.
See, hon?
But
look, this is how it works.
And I remember the TJ Mello podcast I did. I love that dude. I actually did too. Did a turkey podcast with him. If people want to I'm not big into turkey, but if you want to go back and listen to a turkey podcast, the TJ Mello turkey one, he's got a lot of good knowledge. But he told me. He's so obsessed with deer that he planned all of his children to be born in November. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Because of that,
it's a bold move, but it played out, obviously, for
they're
him.
not mobile, the babies at that point.
That's true.
Crying, need to be fed every couple hours and take a nap every couple hours.
My kid was born November 23rd, and... I knew my season was going to be over.
But how long was your kid? You'll never forget.
Yeah, I know. So inside width of the
inside width of the buck
4
right
days
here.
before he was born. we were just telling that story a few minutes ago that when I shot a deer 4 days before my son was born, and it was the inside spread was 20.5 inches wide, and when my son was born, they tell you how much he weighs and how wide he is, and the first thing I say is that, oh, that's how that like my wife would be accepted to that. She's like, I said, oh, that's how wide my deer was I shot the other day, because I had already measured it. And her and the doctor are looking at her, this nurse, I can't remember who it was, were looking at me like, what is this guy talking about? Like, I was like, oh, never mind.
See, you had a great excuse and time right there to tell your wife, see, this is fate.
Yeah.
Every year we'll remeasure him.
Yeah.
In November, and I have to kill an animal with antlers that wide.
That's it.
So now he's, 5 feet? You'd have to go you have to kill a moose. That's funny. So what was your season like, Kevin?
I had an awesome season. It was loaded with activity, and
couldn't get bucks out of the truck.
I had I was helping other people. I probably had the worst season this year that I've had. And so many people had such a good season this year, especially not just killing deer, but killing big bucks. And mine was probably one of the worst I've had in 20 years.
Well, you're in a big transition time, right? You've had a spot that's kind of like what he's describing, that
I did lose my number one spot.
Yep.
I lost my number one spot without knowing. And I hunted a lot of, and I tell you, especially the older I get, and it's funny, I can kind of relate with that kid. Was it Isaac that you interviewed with?
Yeah.
It's about just hunting new
Isaac
areas.
Young. Yep.
I really like hunting new areas. So as much as my year, I didn't kill any deer, and the activity wasn't great. I had some good activity, but not a lot. I did really enjoy the season because you guys got bucks. Other people I know got bucks, and I enjoyed hunting new areas. I really love that. But that being said, when you're hunting new areas, you got to learn them. Like even the spot that we'll talk about in a little bit where he shot his second buck, I'm still trying to figure it out.
You had it figured out because you told me where to go.
That's true. I did tell him where to sit, but it definitely was a tough season. I had some. I passed a couple small bucks early.
That's what I was going to ask. I forgot if you passed deer. You passed.
Well, my first sit, small deer. I mean, my first sit, I sent a video. I think I had a little buck come in, probably 2.5-year-old, like 15 yards. Sent the video to my wife. She cursed me about 20 times.
Yeah, I remember that.
My wife does not like when I tell her I've saw deer and I didn't shoot them because my wife likes venison.
She likes
the summer sausage.
This is pretty damn good.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
She gets pissed, and I'm like, well, it's my first sit in Mass. You know what? I knew my luck was going to be bad this year, and I had bad luck, so that was a big thing. When I was hunting Vermont, which you know very well, if you see a buck, you had a good season up there.
Yep.
I went up for the muzzleloader season for doe, the special tag in October, which I've never done that before. And we went up to my buddy's cabin, and I should have known the first day. I think it was the first day. That morning, it's a doe only. I had a buck come in at bow range, 20 yards. Couldn't shoot him. Then
such a weird rule that just.
Strange. Then that afternoon, we went to a totally brand new spot that night. Had a real small buck come in. I thought it was a doe. I was almost shot the thing. Real small little rack, little 3-point or something. I should have known that was a sign right there. Like, you barely ever see bucks up there, and now I saw them when I can't shoot them. And then had some activity had some bucks, smaller bucks coming in. I think my most exciting morning was probably when I had 3 bucks coming in that were pushing each other around. I called all 3 of them in. One nice little 8-pointer, and then 2 smaller ones. Oh man, I had I think probably I think I'm gonna post this up on my channel. I wasn't gonna post it. I almost was gonna put it on Boston Bow Hunter just because I thought people would really think it was funny. But I think I dropped the F-bomb about 35 times on it. So I was editing it the other day to put on my channel just because I think it's funny. I have a Marco Polo. I was using Marco Polo, which is a social media app. It's basically video texting. And I was texting my wife when I got down from my stand. I told her I'm on my way home. I forget. I had to get home to do something. And couldn't find my release. I'd put my release down on the ground. It was like between 10:30 and 11 in the morning, and I'd put my release down, and I couldn't find it. It took forever. It ended up being tangled up in my binoculars, long story short, and they were in my backpack, which I ended up finding when I got home. And I searched through that backpack 3, 5, 6, 7 times and never saw them tangled up. But I was poloing my wife to say I was freaking out because I'm like, telling her I had been looking for them for like a half an hour at the base of my stand, and I just put them down. I didn't walk away, and I was in the middle of poloing my wife. Now the whole time
you were doing what now?
Poloing.
He was in the
poloing.
Middle of polo.
This is a children's show. Yeah, this is family friendly, and I'm video chatting with her, and I'm telling her this. I'm freaking out. And I'm telling her, I'm like, I know I'll be home soon. I can't find my release. I put it down on the ground. And the whole time I'm looking for my release, I didn't see a deer. all morning, and it was the first time in that stand that I had not seen a deer in it. But I had this weird anxiety, like panic in me that not that I couldn't find my release, that a deer was going to come by as I was looking for it, which I don't know why I was thinking that, but I just had that anxiety. And I'm in the middle of poloing her on the video, chatting her. And
Sounds worse if you say it that way.
And
Sexting? No.
no, we've been married too long for that. As I'm talking to her, a buck comes cruising right by at me, like 12 yards, and I got it on film. And the funniest part of the whole video is the look on my face.
How big was this buck?
But it wasn't big. It was
You
probably.
still should have slayed it.
Yeah. Oh, I would have shot it probably at that point.
Dude, you're good at the fingers because you were practicing recurve.
I didn't even have my bow, and the only reason the deer didn't see me is because it was a huge boulder. It was there's a little funnel that comes right through by my stand, and the deer just go in and out of there. And he was coming right through there, and I thought I'd heard something, even though I was talking really loud, and I just turned, and he goes right by, and the commentary is just I decided I'm gonna post it up on my
yeah, do it
on my YouTube channel just because it's funny.
Tagged Out Productions.
The look on my face, and then I drop like, I don't know, 20 F-bombs. I was editing it the other day, and it was like I was trying to do all these beeps, and it was pretty funny. I mean, the odds that would happen. I mean, and I'm still looking for it, and I'm like, oh, it's really funny. But
man, I realize the same thing as I look at my footage. Like, after I shoot, I swear I don't want to. I need to get better at that. But like after I shoot, I'm like, oh, fuck, shit, that was crazy. You know, it was like,
well,
I just make weird sounds, which is like more concerning.
you just grunt.
All my videos are like, after I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't usually do that, but
it's
every
funny
video
because
I watch, it's me doing that.
on the video, I'm talking to my wife,
big
and
buck
I'm
tail.
mad. I'm mad because I can't find it, but I'm not. I didn't swear once, and then as soon as that buck goes by, and I'm like, and he's gone. I go, there he is, and he's gone. I'm like, boom, boom, like after
Well,
this.
You called me after that, and you're like,
I
you're not
couldn't
gonna
believe
believe what
it.
just happened. I'm like, did you
Couldn't
get a
believe
big
it.
one? No, just walked right
So
past them.
that sums up most of my season. It was, but you know what?
But you started out, which was really cool.
Actually,
with being, you got good at the recurve. You shot recurve
yeah, so
all
I did that.
summer because you were going to bear hunt. And
yeah,
wanted
went
to
on
get
a
one
bear
with the-
trip, and that was an awesome time. Went up to Bo's Buck
Love that,
Outfitters
brother.
up in Maine. That was a great trip. Pat's hitting.
Yeah, normally I'm not the bartender, but
You might want to hit that. You might have unplugged something over there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think you unplugged. Hit
unplug the main.
plug over there. Pat's messing up my. It's not the neatest back there behind the bar. I hate to tell you. Got so much crap plugged in
I
there.
could never bartend back there. I'd break everything.
Well, my initial intent when I lined all this up was not.
You want to go investigate?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know where all those plugs are.
Edit that out.
TV timeout.
No, we don't edit shit out, dude. This is part of the pod.
I don't know how that.
I don't know which one is which.
Yeah,
I think this one's
Max,
mine. This one's yours.
It's all right.
We'll figure it out.
I think you might have just hit the button or something.
Oh,
Boom, we're
Back in
back
action.
in action. Yep.
I don't know if that lighting affects your video or not.
No,
I think that was the same light that was on, wasn't it, or no?
So yeah, that's true. I did pick up the recurve this year, and I actually fell in love with it. I
Thank you, sir.
I had really planned to shoot a deer early this season. I had planned to shoot a deer early, and then I was just gonna go with the recurve the rest of the season. But
I'm good for now, thanks.
that didn't pan out. So
The thing
yeah.
is, like you said, it's ebbs and flows,
yeah.
and you had how
I
many
mean-
good years in a row?
Well, honestly, like I was talking to somebody the other day about that. I mean, I guess it's
Had
different.
This whole basement.
I guess
in a
it's
row.
different when you're
Yeah,
younger,
like-
but like honestly, like I mean, I totally preach like memories, like the memories, and you know whether it's a deer or not. Like it's almost like the deer camp mentality. I know you talk about it a lot, and I think that kind of definitely got inbred in me. Like honestly, like when you shot your second deer and we dragged it out, like. It's just as good as shooting one. I honestly,
Yeah.
I seriously, honestly, like believe, like that's how I feel. Like other than not having the meat in the freezer and having a wife that's pissed about not having the meat in the freezer.
I brought you some meat last time.
That's true, you did. And I still had some left over. I shouldn't say I still had.
thought about it
This is
today,
one
but
of
I
my
didn't wanna
deer
be
from
like,
last
is that
year.
rude?
So.
Yeah, he thought it was rude when I brought it to him. He was like, "Oh, you don't need to give me pity. What'd you call it?
No, sympathy deer. I said
Oh,
no
come
sympathy
on.
venison.
No sympathy
come on.
meat."
But yeah, no. So it is. I mean, it was I look back and as far as putting a deer on the ground, it sucked.
But you learned a
But-
hell of a lot this year.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Got to hunt new
Your
areas.
new Rhode Island spot's looking nice and
Yeah.
promising.
And definitely seeing other people get deer is awesome. If none of my friends were getting deer and nobody, it sucks. Sucks
Yeah.
if it's a shitty deer. It's shitty. I mean, honestly, even seeing other people on I know some people like get super jealous when they see people on social media and they're not getting anything. Yeah, it bothers you a little bit, but honestly, it was super encouraging this year seeing how many big bucks were shot.
Oh, yeah.
Even in Western Massachusetts,
Yep.
like I feel like Western Massachusetts has picked up in the last 2 to 3 years. I haven't hunted there in a couple years. I used to hunt there every year with some people during opening shotgun. We had the same place. The guys have been going there for like 80 years. I mean, but it is encouraging seeing that. I mean, God, Pat Burns. I don't even know Pat Burns, and him getting that buck down. I knew this whole story from you, and
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, seeing that stuff is really cool. And seeing, like we were talking earlier, like a lot of the young guys that are getting into like filming, and a lot of these guys, it's awesome.
It's really crazy the last couple of years how many new YouTube creators
Yep.
and podcasts are popping up and stuff. There's a lot of that.
It's funny because like when we were
Good
talking,
momentum right now.
Oh yeah.
when we were talking earlier, when I started doing my channel, and I wasn't really doing. I was just throwing shit up. It wasn't, editing, whatever, half-assed. But all I would watch was YouTube. And there was nothing from around, well, nothing, but very little from around here. But I wanted to watch, like, very low budget, just, basic shit. Not
Rather than
not
the
outdoor
super
channel
produced
stuff or any of
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys feel the same way. But that's definitely, there was not very little from this area.
Yeah.
But now there's a ton, like you just said.
Right. I mean,
And it's awesome.
Like you were saying.
I could sit and watch that shit 24 hours
yeah.
a day.
YouTube was usually just the guys in Iowa, Kansas, sitting over the same cornfield,
Right.
waiting for this buck that they talked about for the half an hour prior. But like,
Film of a sunrise, film of a sunset, some music.
yeah, like I've
Same
said
thing.
It's
I've-
cool, but
It's cool.
like I've said it from years ago. Like, bring some of those dudes out here. It's a different ball game. They'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
lost.
yeah,
like
yeah.
this, I
They'd
personally
be bored,
think,
not lost.
Yeah, like,
they'd
I
just
think
be like,
that
where are
Northeast
all the
hunting
deer?
is. I've never. I mean, this bias. I haven't hunted anywhere else, so I can't really say. But like Northeast hunting, it's a whole different ball game compared to what people are used to, and I think it's awesome that I know Zach from the Hunting Public. He's talking about like he wants to keep getting further east and coming out this way. And I love watching those guys. So I'm curious to see what he'll do.
I think
out
he
here.
will
he
be
just
too.
he
Yeah,
just did
no,
the
absolutely.
Adirondacks hunt.
Yeah,
with,
so he was
with
doing
Brett
that.
Joy.
But
And
I mean,
just
he,
did that.
he recently did a podcast on that, and he was talking about it. He was like, it's
Yeah, you
it
could
was
tell.
an eye-opening
You
experience.
could tell how
for him.
like into it he was. He was
Yeah,
like, I want to do
absolutely.
more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Must be nice to
just do
be
that.
able to do nothing.
Hey,
but
honey, I'm
hunt.
going to.
Again, there you
Going to
started
Massachusetts.
younger. We were talking about you were just talking about like social media and like
The
you see
hunting
guys
beast.
posting stuff, and this came up today. Dan Infalt posted it, and it was like it. I totally get it, and it's exactly what I was thinking too. But this is what he posted today. You know Dan Infalt, right? The hunting beast, right? You have finally matured as a hunter when you stop measuring hunts in inches of antler and you start measuring them in the depth of the muck, the extreme of the weather, and the challenges you face. For when you touch the trigger or release the string, there will be no standing ovation. None of your friends care what you shoot or don't shoot. Your only audience is you, your prey, and God. Hunt for you, not to impress your friends.
That's awesome.
He's the man. He posts shit like that, and it's like, you know what? I've had that same thought. Like, how many people... I care, like, close friends when you guys get a good deer, and I say, like, oh, man, what a beautiful deer, and you want to be a part of that experience. But think about how many times on social media, and you're just new to Instagram, but you see anybody that you follow, they get a nice buck. Like, I'm just thinking top of my head, like, Bo Martonic. I listened to his podcast. I follow him. I remember an awesome mountain buck he killed, and I commented under it like, "Man, what a slammer!" Right? But that's the only split second I thought about that buck, and that's the way it is with social media. With outside of your circle of friends, it really is just a bunch of people just like. It's a minimum tiny little like adrenaline hit or like dopamine hit when you get a little like or like a comment. But 98% of those people don't think about that deer. They don't know who you are.
Nope, you're right.
Nothing. It's all about your circle of friends.
Yeah, and I see that. I'm on this Facebook thing. It's like deer score and age page. I don't know if you guys are on it, but like people pretty much put, hey, what do you think this score's at?
Right. And you see some slammers on there.
Yeah, but like there was this dude. This kid must have been, he was no older than 15. And it was probably, 115, 120 inch buck, but just seeing the smile, like picture's worth 1,000 words. This kid was amped. And he was like, what do you think this age and score? And you get people putting like the laughing emoji and everything. And just like, I'm like, it's social media is awesome in terms of like marketing the hunt and just showing in the, like we do, just sharing your experience, getting people on board with it. But then it can really just freaking tear you apart as a hunter.
I mean, it's funny because I remember when like I'd have people video me, message me even still sometimes about filming hunts and stuff through social media and some of the sites, and asking like questions and about the I the one thing I used to always say is like, no one's paying you. Don't worry about getting the kill on the video. Just kill the deer. I said, but honestly, get your reaction after. Like when I'm watching those videos, I don't care about that I saw the shot on video. I don't care. Like 100%. I want to see the whole experience. I want to see them tracking it. I want to see their reaction after, even if it's stupid.
That's what I don't do.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I know. But listen. I get it. Like I've gone back and watched some of videos. It's a little embarrassing, but I like watching that. Like that's just capture that, and like we're talking about the Rhode Island guys.
Rhode Island Whitetails.
Yep. Like
shout out their page.
Like those guys, I've never met those guys, but we were talking about them earlier. I said I want to meet those guys because they're young kids, but you can just tell they're good kids.
They're happy when they get a deer.
I mean, they're just stoked, and their reactions, and to me, like that's again, it goes back to that kind of hunt camp mentality of that excitement with everybody's excited about it.
Yeah.
Who cares what it scores?
And it's
all
real.
of that. And I used to say the same. That's why I used to say about the videoing. Don't worry. Like no one's paying you. Just capture it. It's for your memory. And.
Yeah, no one's paying you, and just act like no one's paying attention, because 98% of people aren't. It's like it really should go back to that. And then as a content creator and stuff, like I step back and think about that sometimes. Like, it is so. Even like after I shoot the deer and I'm there when I'm self-filming, I got my tripod out and I do the whole recovery and the talk thing. But it would be so much more realistic if just. The entire it wasn't like, I got to go press record and then go and
no,
I know I'm being filmed, and it's the whole thing of when you turn on a camera, we just act a little bit differently than we would in normal reality.
Right.
Everybody does. It's the whole observer effect thing.
That's true.
I think my 10, I FaceTimed you. He was driving to work. I didn't really care at the time that you were driving to work. I'm walking, I'm like, this is a good blood trail, and then we went up and he was piled up right there, and I was showing him like I didn't see the deer necessarily right there until I looked up. So, like, that's as real as it gets. But like you said, without press and record previously and everything, that's... Yeah,
it's good. I mean, that's, to me, I'm telling you, that's what it's all about. It's just, like, that excitement. It's funny. You see, what is probably one of the most famous things that a lot of deer hunters say? They say, I'm going to stop doing it when I feel this way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They always
Once I stop feeling the adrenaline,
and
I'm done.
So, but that whole adrenaline, and some people don't. Everyone reacts differently. Some people,
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think about that all the time, too. That's one of the cliches that everybody says.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not going to stop hunting but I can't imagine not getting. So I don't shoot enough deer I don't think I could get excited.
And
you know what I mean?
listen,
I don't know
and
about
it
that
is a lie. I think it is a lie. You're not going to feel the same every single
Yeah.
No,
every single
absolutely not.
time. It's completely different. It depends on the situation. But I remember my first my button buck when I was 11 years old. My first deer in Vermont shot a button buck. I remember how excited I was for that. And then the spike horn I got after that 2 years later when I was 13, and I was so excited. There's no way that I've been able to match that excitement.
Yeah.
As an adult, I just haven't. You don't have that same childhood excitement. It's
Yeah,
not
I
exactly
mean-
the same.
It's all, I mean, it's really all relative. And like you said, it's your own moment. Good example would be down here. My smallest buck that I have mounted is my most memorable one. And, everybody always looks at their mounts and they're like, oh, they think about that day. And most of my deer, not all of them, but most of them have like a pretty cool memory with them. And that one, that one had to do with my dad and stuff. And that one was just, I look at that one all the time. I tear up. I think about it because my dad had passed away that year. And that was the one where I had, it was opening day of Vermont rifle. Had walked up, sat down, and said to my dad, he had just passed away a few months ago. And it's funny because I grew up, Vermont was where I grew up, kind of like hunting and stuff like that. We used to have a cabin up there. And
That's why you became such a good hunter.
yeah. And as you know, even that deer over there, it's a big deer for Vermont. And I just said, hey, Dad, I'm like, just push one my way. And then in 3-4 minutes, whatever it was, that deer ran in my lap within bull range. And I shot it. And it was one of those cool mornings. And I filmed that. That's on my YouTube page. I filmed that. Not the shot, but afterwards, and that whole experience, and oh man, it's just, and a lot of people have that. You tie those memories, and like you were saying, that what Dan Enfalt said, it's like you have those moments. Nobody's sitting there applauding you, or even knows what experience you just went through, and they forget about it, even if you wrote about it. But that's all for you.
And you should never get into it thinking that that's gonna There are some people that get into hunting nowadays, I think, because it's like the cool thing to do, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's like, oh, I can film stuff. I can start some kind of a influencer page, right? Now, I hope those people will learn to just enjoy the hunt, but and it's a little more organic, right? Like I grew up hunting to start something and do something like this because I really do love it, but I just think about that all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do it for the wrong reasons, and you just got to step back and enjoy it, even when you're a content creator. Sometimes just enjoy it, but not sometimes, all the time enjoy it. But the funny thing is, I was also watching something about Donnie Vincent today, and Donnie Vincent creates amazing content, and it's because he has amazing filmographers. Will Altman is his he follows him around with the camera. Another awesome. They're both main guys. And the way you get the most natural content is by having the camera be a part of your life a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Right.
so you get used to it.
Yeah.
It's not,
and it's
organic.
it's just
It's
on all the
pretty much-
time. So then there's no moment where it's we're pressing record and then you get that weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it kind of immerses with you,
Yeah. It's funny because that one of the things I always...
then you'll forget about it, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying before, I think after the shot, I love watching people after the shot. And when I say people, I mean not a professional hunter that's shot a
You
ton
know
of
who's
deer,
got a
but-
great page for after the shot? Rodney, the Mountain Deer guys. The Rodney Elmer. Mountain
Oh
Deer.
yeah. Oh yeah.
After the
Elmer.
shot, those guys
Maine.
get very emotional.
Yeah.
And it's true, it's real. They'll cry sometimes.
Him and his
it's
son,
like-
yeah.
You
See,
can
that's
just feel
awesome.
it. You're like, man, that kid
it's
is
real.
really, and this is what he lives for.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
they live and breathe that. Yeah, it's just. I mean, I don't know. There's so much behind the hunting and the kill that is, organic and, like I said, stuff that other people won't know. It's all in you, and you'll remember it, you'll think about it, and have
Right.
your own feelings, and
yeah, for sure. We're still going there. Good. So another thing I wanted to tie into was, did you guys see there was something going around on the Facebook circuit? This guy in New Hampshire, who wrote an article, this long article in the Maine Sportsman magazine. And he was talking about how there's an invasion. You guys aren't from Vermont, but you hunted in Vermont a lot. There's an invasion of Vermont plates in New Hampshire. And it's a plague. And why don't these Vermonters go back and hunt Vermont? And
It's so tough. That's
There's
why.
your
it's
answer.
one of those reasons, right? It's like
Well, New
we're
Hampshire's
skipping
not easy
borders.
either, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was such a, I don't know, you guys didn't see it, but it's really like, you read the whole article, it's like, man, that guy's real salty that there's some
Well,
good,
no, see, I did not
there's
see
some
that,
good
but-
Vermont hunters that cross the border and, they're encroaching on his, New Hampshire
Yeah.
land,
Did he write? Was it for like a newspaper? Or?
Yes,
Oh,
no, for the Maine, I think Maine Sportsman magazine. It's
No,
one of the
I
big,
mean-
like,
You know what? It's even Vermont. It's the same. I mean, you go anywhere like Massachusetts places, Vermont. It's not that accepted. I've had many experiences with. But yeah, Vermont's tough hunting. I could see that. I could see a lot of people going over.
and I can see why there's mass plates going to Vermont if you can't
Yeah.
hunt Sunday and you live up near there.
Yep.
You drive over and, dude, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of nice bucks in Vermont. Isaac Young's killing nice bucks
Yeah.
up
Oh,
there.
yeah,
There's a
they're
lot of
there.
guys
It's like
killing
any-
nice bucks. You just got to work a little bit harder
Yeah,
for it.
It's
putting
like
in the
any.
time.
It's like anywhere. I mean, but up there, they're far and few between. There's a lot more land around. I mean, it's just even where my buddy has his camp. There's just so much woods just to see a deer. Get on a deer, and never
Right.
mind a big buck. Like it's tough. It's tough. Where your camp is the same thing. It is not easy.
And that's what he was saying in the podcast when you guys have been chatting. He's like, yeah, there's a pile of deer down here, because
Yeah.
down here you're so limited where you can go look for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And chances are, with all the development, the deer are gonna be there.
Well, it's like when
Up there, like, yeah, man,
Isaac kept telling me, he's like, I hunted Ohio for many years, and he goes, this patch of woods that we're in, where you used to hunt, he's like, this is better than any place in Ohio. There's way more sign in
Yeah.
here. And I'm not kidding you, dude. We saw 45 deer in one group. They were
crazy.
all grouped up together.
It's
And
because
I-
you can't hunt a lot of that area. That's
Yep.
why. That's the whole thing.
And that's probably half the population of that forest. I would guess in that patch. There's probably 90 deer in there.
I told you when I went to his house for the first time, and I'm like, well, because my cousins had lived not too far from him, and plus I knew the town because I hunted it. I'm just like, I think you realize that you were in the middle of the shit right here. Like you're in a good area to hunt. If you can get permission and get on some land, like this is a great area. Like I don't know if he knew. I don't think he knew it when he bought the house.
Oh, I definitely didn't know. I was just, It's like, man.
And now he knows. Every day the kid he goes for a walk and sends you a message. He's like, "Oh, look at this! I saw a 12-pointer. I saw a 10-pointer today. So look at this video. I'm in a meeting."
oh,
Goes for
that's what I can't stand.
He's
That.
like,
I can't.
"I've never seen." I mean,
that
he
was
sees-
crazy. I kind of wish I killed that deer, but no, I'm happy I didn't.
He sees more. It's just funny because my family used to always make a joke like I was like the deer magnet. I see deer all the time. My father's like, "Geez, you saw more deer this week than I've seen in the last 10 years."
He takes the cake.
But he's taking
takes
over.
the cake.
He sees more deer than anybody I know.
I just saw 5 140s walking around together in my yard. Like
He said, "What did you say one day?" He said something like, I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I just saw 3 bucks." And so I said, "What are you sitting on your toilet or something?"
I don't know. I do see it. I see a lot of deer and a lot of bucks, but I'm in the woods at least 2 hours a day. I take
Yeah, you do go out a
take,
lot.
I
You
take
gotta-
2 hours and I go.
Yeah.
No excuse. It's like, just do it if
Yeah.
you can. If you're at home, you can do it. Do it.
Yeah.
It's like the people who run marathons are like, oh, there's no excuse. You got to be at work at 7, get up at 5 and practice, right? It's not as hard as that, but
True.
there's no excuse. Just walk out in the woods. Pat, let's talk about your second deer.
all right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Let's
it.
talk
I
about
can
that
I can
one.
thank Kevin, this guy next to me here, for that one. So this is that Rhode Island spot you kind of briefly mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So he, found it on Onyx, and went out. He scouted. I think you had a camera out there prior to going out there and hunting it. Actually, I think.
Well, yeah, because I scouted it this time last year, in like February or whatever.
You found that shed. You found a shed within like an hour.
Found a shed, yeah, one of those little ones over there. One of those, I think, I think it's one of those right there. I found.
This one here.
Yeah, and but there was so much sign in there, and there was no sign of any hunters. Although this year I realized there's a couple guys in there, and then I knew there was a lot of buck sign. I knew there was deer in there and bucks, and
yes,
hunted a little bit. And the first time I actually sat and stand there, I'd set up one stand, and I had one big buck on camera, a big body buck anyways, a big 8-pointer, a big body, big fat. I sent you guys a picture.
He
he
big
was
boy.
A tank. And the first time I went in my stand, I went out. It was in November, I think, and I went out and put some buck bomb or some. Oh no, I think I put some of Chad's. I put some of Chad's. We'll give him a plug. I put some of Chad's.
Another one,
stuff.
Chad. You're responsible for this whole room.
Yeah, and almost getting a deer. No, and I put some of his stuff out 20 yards from my stand. As I was walking back to my stand, a deer blows at me.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, crap. I was at the base of my stand. And a deer was blowing at me up on this little knob down by some laurel. And I was like, I'm like, I just got busted. I'm looking at the wind. I'm like, the wind's not really blowing that way. I didn't know what was happening. Blew at me a bunch of times. I crawl up on my stand, and I pulled my bow up and hung it. And all of a sudden I heard a deer. I looked down, and I'm pretty sure it was that deer. A huge 8-pointer comes down. Running. Like, he came running from where the blowing was at. Yeah. And he came down, and I thought he was going to run right up my stand. I didn't know at the time. I thought a run had come up to that hill in front of my stand, but there was actually some blowdowns that kept him, and he hooked and just went away from me, out of my life. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, the first sit there, and I just saw one of the bucks I wanted to shoot. I think what happened is I think that was a doe probably blowing at me, and he was probably running around, heard her or whatever, and he was just, that definitely couldn't have been him blowing at me. He came looking for her, or maybe he had been chasing her and she hooked left or something. He was trying to, because I could tell the way he was running. He was going after something or whatever. He was trying to figure out. But yeah, we went in that night not that night, but another night we went in the same.
You guys
spot.
were hunting together when you got that deer?
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I think we were gonna go somewhere else.
We
and
were
I said, why
going.
don't you come with me? I go, let's go to the Rhode Island spot.
I think we were gonna go to Mendon or something, and wherever we were gonna hunt there.
And he hadn't hunted it yet.
Yeah, I had no idea what it even looked like, but
he went in with his saddle.
We pulled in, and he was pretty much like, hey, there's a little creek here. There's an old hang on. I mean, the thing's growing.
Oh, that's the
tree
creek
at this
deer?
point. This is the creek deer. Yeah.
That creek is a good spot.
Oh man, so he's like just literally set up anywhere down in here. And he tells me, I'm going to go down, I'm going to hook left, and, whatever. So he said, pretty much, let me know when you get up. It took me, 25 minutes to find kind of where I wanted to set up. And it still wasn't an ideal spot, but just by looking at it, I'm like, I'm just going to hop up in this creek here. So I hopped up. I was in there for probably an hour, and it was one of those situations where you get up there and you're like, I don't have as many shooting lanes as it looked like. So, I mean, you saw the video.
Yeah,
I shot through like a bird's nest. It looked like it was terrible. But so yeah, we're there for like an hour. It was pretty dead. And then I look over to my right, didn't even hear it. I just happened to look over, and this button buck just comes in, nose down to the ground, didn't care about anything, just went up. And I was texting Kevin. I didn't even send the text, but I just hear and I look, and 3 doe come motoring down from behind me. Right down to the creek.
I didn't even realize he had 3 doe. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, there were 3 because 2 hooked left, and they were pretty much standing 10 yards from me on the opposite side of the creek. And then 1 doe, she kind of got hung up down to my right and looked back, and I was like, all right, there has to be a buck coming. And then, kind of like the first one, I can hear the grunting before I even see the deer. And he came in like a bat out of hell. Like he just, and you saw the video. That grunt I let out was just.
That's the wide, right?
That's that one right
here.
Yeah, hold that one up. Show it. I don't know if you already showed that or
I
not.
did, yeah, but. Oh,
yeah, it's worth showing again, dude.
He had 23-inch spread on him. So.
Yeah,
he was definitely.
Scores 123 and 5/8.
Yeah.
Green score.
Broken brows, but
broken brows.
So
Such
he
an
came
impressive
down,
deer.
and I let out that grunt at him, and he looked over in my direction. I thought he was kind of just staring at the doe that were next to me. And then on a line, he just came right under my the tree I was in, and he gets ready to cross the creek, and he just looks up at me. And, it's now or never. So I send the arrow. I let Kevin know.
We're there like an hour.
Yeah.
No, he didn't let me know. He called me. The phone was
sorry,
ringing. But he's calling me.
I was pretty jazzed up. It
him.
happened pretty quick here.
Yeah, Pat gets jazzed up.
I saw the phone ring,
which is awesome.
I think probably the words in my head were, "You gotta be kidding me." Like, because I knew he's calling me. He just shot something.
Yeah, but you're also like, you're super excited.
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
like I was like, because the doe had come by, so I was kind of like looking at the phone. And I'm looking at her, and then and then I answered you after she went through, and
he has very specific answers. Well, or questions. What does he look like? I don't know. He was wide. Like, I don't know.
I was trying to figure out which deer it was.
The footage is 1 minute and 7 seconds. Like from when I see him, the arrow, but
Because he's excited. He's like, yeah, it's like he's there.
It's awesome.
You know what? When you go in with people and you hunt the same day in the same patch, that's the best.
Right.
If somebody gets one it's like, that's just awesome.
But
that's exactly like you get.
Honestly, a lot of all the credit goes to Kevin on this deer because
get out of here.
I'm not trying to kiss your ass right now, but
you
at
got
the
a big
same time,
assist, dude.
I had never I aerial scouted the map or on Onyx the area, and I'm like, all right, well.
Yeah,
the
but
whole area
he sent you
awesome.
to a location. You
yeah,
got
and he's
in
like,
there.
hey man, I got a good feeling, just go down there. So I went up, and sure as shit, but
the whole story though is a tracking job.
Oh my god,
the tracking job is the whole
so
story.
it is.
All right,
and another thing, should have listened to him from the get go, but so it's I think 45 minutes. We agreed hey, at this time we're gonna hop down from the tree.
Well, he sent me a picture. You went down. He sent me a picture, and I said that deer's dead. He sent me a picture of
the arrow.
I forget who it was on your podcast, but I don't know if it was. I'm trying to remember who it was, but they made a really good point about, and this is it's probably good for a lot of young hunters or new hunters, I should say, not young but new, that bubbles does not mean that it's a double long shot. Mm-hmm. The blood can bubble, but the picture he sent me was, I'm like, that's. You hit both lungs.
It was boiling.
It was frothy. I mean, when he sent me the picture, I'm like, I said to you, that deer's dead. Yeah. But we still waited. We still waited an hour, I think. Yep. It was early, but I didn't want to wait till dark. He's like, oh, I don't want to screw your hunt up. I'm like, no, I want to get down. I want to, let's start looking at this deer. Because he shot it early. He shot it, we'd only been in the stand for an hour or so, and he had shot it. So we said, let's just give it an hour.
Yeah,
and
that was the picture I sent him.
Yeah, I mean, look how frothy that is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when he sent that to me, I said that deer's dead.
And that was probably 25 yards from where I arrowed him.
And so he backed out. We waited. We got down about an hour later, and we started tracking it. And I don't remember how far it was from where you shot it, but there was thick pines.
Yep.
And the deer had cut. This is where we screwed up. The deer had come out of these thick pines, and when it came out, there was a branch coming down like this, and it looks like it was blocking it from going that way. So you would think a hurt deer would have just naturally fallen away from that big branch and would have went to the right. So when we came out of there, we could not find any more blood, and we're looking and we're looking and we're circling and we're looking and we're looking. I don't know how much time we wasted.
A good hour.
And then we started doing body searches, and there was open areas, but there were thick pines. I said, let's get in some of these thick pines and see if he just bedded down in there. And I go, he's dead somewhere.
It's a weird property because there's
a lot of
that
clearings.
creek, ridge, clear cut, 10-year-old clear cut, and then whatever.
Thick pines,
so
little spots of really these little thick pines.
Before we move on from that, though, I think this is kind of cool to dive into just real quick, because you mentioned that big stick, right?
Yeah.
And as people are tracking, and you see that, and you're like, all right, that's naturally gonna guide a deer that way. Right. And a lot of the things you hear when a deer is injured, it's gonna go downhill is a good thing. Yep. Check the water is a good thing. There are some things definitely check, but something like that might be. It's like when a deer is injured and they're mortally wounded, I think they might dodge those kind of sticks. The big terrain features, sure, but the little things like a stick jutting out, I think they might just bowl through that shit sometimes.
Well, the thing is that I agree with you after this whole track job, but seeing it was essentially a bent down tree.
Okay, so it was a big.
it was a younger tree, but it had some some strength to it, you know. But I mean, the biggest learning point from that was if you lose blood and you see
back.
something that to you, I'm not gonna run through that.
Yeah.
Well, we wasted a bunch
We
of
wasted
time.
an hour just by
so.
assuming.
And I said to him, like,
Did you
dude,
mark that last spot, or?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
we had
marked
marked
it,
and,
but
and
it just goes to show you that like you assuming things can be
I mean,
detrimental to your
it's
tracking.
like
job.
anything
It's
with a
just not
deer, you
ideal.
just never know what they're gonna do. You
Yeah.
know? It's like
Yeah.
just a good example. And I'd said to him, like, dude, I'm like, let's go back to last blood. I go, maybe he hooked left under that branch or whatever it was.
Sure thing.
I said,
drops
sure
right
enough,
under
we
it.
go over there and there's the blood.
He went under it, and then,
then-
This one.
yep, this one here. So
Yeah, he's
we're
got a
going
big old rack too, and he's
drop,
still going under that
drop.
stuff.
Oh, and the way it was just, you would never think that. It wasn't even like he really had to go under or over that.
Yeah.
Like you just would have think coming out of that thick
Yeah.
stuff he came out of.
Yep.
That he just it either went straight or to the right. He just
Right.
would not have went under that, and he did.
So it's
Was he
white.
on his death run at that point when you
Nope.
go back
Nope.
and look at it?
Oh no, because I mean,
he went. So that's the moral of the story.
So
Is that double lung shot, and he went 200. I marked it as the crow
211
flies.
yards.
Was it 211 or 260? I think it was 260.
It could have.
Okay,
yeah,
so that's another thing we should talk about too, though, because a couple of the guys talked about that were on the podcast that are really good trackers. That's what they do. They say, well, 211 yards, a deer that's freaking mortally wounded covers that in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He could have been there in 10 seconds. So that was his death
Right.
run. If he was only 211 yards from the crow flies, they cover so much of that
Oh, yeah,
ground and
so
so quick that
Yeah.
you
But
don't even. It's probably more like 30 seconds, and then he passed away. But
I mean, he.
But like we were talking about earlier, I had said to Pat, like we were just talking about this earlier upstairs, that, and I learned my lesson. Like when I lost my elk in Colorado and we bumped him and all that, like 100 yards or so, I'm backing out. And the only
remember
reason we
that.
didn't back out is because neither of us could go back the next day.
Yeah.
We couldn't. He had something to do with his baby, with his wife. They had to go get, into Boston for something.
Yeah.
And I had like big meetings. I had to go to work.
Yeah,
we
you
could
guys
not
had to
go the
find him.
next day.
Yep.
Yeah. it
So
was
we
just-
stayed on the blood and we stayed on it and we
And it
had
was-
blood. It was a tough track.
It wasn't just staying on blood. It was him and I, hands and knees, headlamps, because at this point it was dark. I mean, I arrowed this deer, I think, at a little
because we
after
started
3
it
p.m.
light. It was light out.
So the
Yeah.
blood
Tracking.
trail really kind of petered out, huh?
It did.
Yeah,
So
oh, yeah.
that picture I showed you, I mean, that was very frothy, everything, and then pretty
Oh, yeah,
good.
wicked try.
And then it just.
Did you have your arrow? I forget.
No.
Yep, I found the
Oh, you
arrow.
did?
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
I
You
sent
had
a picture of the
pass-through on
arrow
that
from
deer,
you. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so you
that's
had
the
it
thing.
before you guys started the track.
But
Yeah.
again, what I didn't take into account is, I said at the 20 yards, he was, Jesus, that was probably a 3-yard shot, realistically, 5-yard shot. And I didn't take into account the angle, so I should have aimed probably a little higher at that angle, but I didn't. And
But he
again,
hit top lungs.
just
He hit
another.
high on the lungs.
And a
Another
pass
learning point.
through, and still
Yeah.
it petered out.
So
Oh,
I
it
mean, this
petered
thing,
out.
he was.
track job was. I was more excited. The track job was awesome.
Yeah.
We found that.
It was
stayed on
awesome,
it.
but at the
We
same
kept
time,
losing
it was very frustrating.
Well, that's a perfect example of, and I'm not dissing on Pat at all, because I do the exact same thing. But the biggest piece of advice to anybody tracking a deer, if they're not a lot experienced, is get somebody that didn't just shoot that deer
Yes.
to be with you.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. Is how many times did I tell you, like, Pat, stop,
Yeah.
come back here, like you're
Where's the
walking, like
blood? Yep.
100 times.
That's the
I
thing,
kept
I'm just
telling
like,
Pat, come back here, stop.
I'm
You're walking.
excited. He went this way. Like, look at the leaves were all
You
picked
get
up. He went this way.
You
Yeah.
get
But
so
that's
frustrated.
terrible
You're
assumptions.
panicked. I mean,
And you have a one-track, like you'll do the same
One-track
thing
mind,
over
literally,
again.
that's
One
it.
track
And when you lose-
mind. Yeah.
And when you
Play
lose
on words there.
lose the blood, you immediately are freaking out.
Yeah.
You're immediately like in panic mode. I mean, I've done it a ton of times.
Yep.
And but if you have somebody that did not just shoot that deer, they're more calm and relaxed.
That's the thing. Chris Alberini came and helped me out in my first one too. I had been spent all day looking, waiting, and then all night, and then I slept. In the morning, the next day, Chris came, and just having him around, he found the next blood. Like I was stuck in the same loop, and I was like,
Yeah.
he had to have. I know I saw him go that way. He had to have gone, so I was going that way. You know, he basically came and was just like, so where have you been? I was like, well, I've pretty much covered all of this. So it was pretty easy for him with not
Let's go this way.
with not a clouded mind say, well, why don't we just check over this
You need
way?
a clear head.
And I was like, well, because I didn't see him go that way. He was just like, let's just go look over there. And he found the extra blood, and then he goes there. And you so really, really do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need
Get
a clear
somebody.
head. Somebody that they don't even have to be a great tracker. They didn't as long as they didn't pull the trigger.
Right.
Because I've helped so many people, and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, he's doing exactly what I do. He's trampling over the, he's going way ahead. He's freaking out. Like, that's exactly what I do when I shoot the deer.
Yeah.
It's like, he's panicking. He thinks he's not going to find it.
Well,
and,
I'm panicking. I mean, this is Jesus going on 3 hours after the shot, probably.
well, and we said, like we were talking about earlier, I said that I would have backed out because I was talking about that whole 100-yard rule. But neither of us could stay, so I said, all right. And I remember I was freaking out because I had to get home because of my kid and feed my kid because my wife wasn't home. And I'm like, man, we got to find this deer. And whenever he went up to the tote, he went down towards the pond, and like he didn't go to the pond. And I'm like, oh, I know where he's heading. There's all mountain laurel in there. He's going. He goes in there where it was screwed.
yeah,
And he friggin' crossed the trail and died.
He
right in
died
front of the mountain laurel.
on the trail.
Well,
We had
no,
a
just
str-
right on the edge of it, right before the mountain.
It was still
laurel.
a straight
Yeah.
shot out for us.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
If you would have just started walking back to the car, you would have
no,
walked by him.
so we would have had to gone down to the water first. But, So we got this deer. We film it. We're all jazzed up. On the way out to get the cart, I dropped my phone
Oh,
somewhere
that was a
in the
whole
mix.
nother fiasco. He loses his phone.
So I dropped my phone. It is like a foot away from landing in a river or
Yeah,
the,
but how
same creek.
But how do we find it? I'm messaging.
I had to. I'm like, reach
I'm-
out to my
I'm
girlfriend
messaging
at
his
the time.
fiance.
I'm like,
who
tell
doesn't
her
know
I
me.
lost my phone. Go to find my whatever and see where it is. And she sends
She's-
a picture,
send a-
and there's like
and I
the
go,
blue creek, and then a little dot. I'm like,
You should have
Jesus,
sent her a
it's in the-
message saying like, "What you doing? Who's this?" or something.
Yeah,
You up?
but she's like, "What's this all about?" I was like,
Netflix
"Got a
and
deer,"
chill?
like, whatever. But
That was cool. It was awesome. But the tracking job was
Such an awesome
Yeah.
deer.
But the thing is, that night, I was not the thing is, but just to caveat off this, but I'm driving home and I'm on
Oh yeah.
I'm
That's
on
right.
44 and
Says that.
I'm not driving for 10 minutes. I call him. I'm like, dude, an absolute slob. It just walked across the road in front of me. Didn't even try. Just walking, looked at me. He's like, well, how big is it? I'm like, it dwarfs. It absolutely dwarfs the one I just shot. And he's
Hopefully
like-
you
he's
marked
like-
that
he's
one
like,
on X,
Well,
dude.
the thing, he's like, bullshit. I was like, Kevin, hand to God, it dwarfs the deer I just shot.
Yeah.
Did you on exit?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's all legal hunting. It's a
Yeah, so
a
you
wildlife
mark it.
management
Now you
area.
should go in and find those sheds.
It's funny
Well, I
too
got
where
tomorrow off. I might
where
just
he
go do
shot
it.
that deer too. When you told me you went a little further than what I told you, I was like freaking out because I had jumped. I thought they were bedding in the thick laurel right there, which they are because I figured that out again this year postseason. But
Hey, pro tip, you've heard it a lot. If there's laurel around,
Yeah.
they
Go
are
to the laurel.
just ask
Go to the laurel and they're bedding in there.
ask
Ask Pat
ask
Burns
Pat
that one.
Burns about the mountain laurel. Yeah, mountain laurel is. That's what I grew up hunting in was mountain laurel. Barely ever saw a deer. They live in that stuff. I think that kid that I was messaging, I said, yeah. I said they eat, sleep, and bang in that mountain laurel. That's all they do.
It's
But
what more for cover can
that was a
you
cool deer. It was an awesome deer. I was super
Yeah.
excited. I was pumped.
Dude, Pat, that's how you start new long stories, is like that one that crossed the road after you killed him.
Yeah.
So the next step for you continuing that story,
get some cameras up there, do some scouting.
try to find one of the sheds at least.
I was so
It
caught
wasn't
off
far
guard
from where
because like
wasn't
I
far
have,
from where you were because I remember when you sent
yeah,
it.
and
me
realistically, had that deer probably walked another
He could be
mile in
dead
the woods.
too. Somebody could
Yeah,
have killed
no,
him.
absolutely. But he would have probably met up with the same patch of woods we were in.
Yep.
But yeah, that thing dwarfed.
Get some
And-
cameras up in there.
I want it. I mean, I don't want to ruin it for the Rhode Island whitetail guys, but Rhode Island has, if you're not there yet, it's worth taking
It's
a
a
look
sleeper
at.
northeastern.
It-
That's my
I'm
first
telling
year hunting there, and I only got my license and all that for Sunday hunting. But now, I hunted it more than Sundays. But
Yep.
like a lot of guys, and I live close to the border. So
I think there's a lot of sleeper northeastern states, and New Jersey is one of them for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Like,
my God!
and look
yeah,
at
my
New Jersey
nephew
on the
lives in
map. Like
Jersey.
all you ever think of, like when you were a kid, is New Jersey was the butt of the joke, right?
Yep.
It's like, oh, that's like whatever. It's just like slums, and you think about that, and then you look at it on a map. It's 80% forested, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of woods there,
Yep.
and probably not a ton.
Jersey has a lot
ton
of
of
big deer
hunters.
and a lot of big bears.
Yeah,
Bears?
bears
Some areas
too.
are huge bears in
Yeah.
there.
I think it's the most densely populated black bear
Yeah.
population in the country is New Jersey.
Yep. Yeah, my nephew moved down there years ago, and he used to hunt. Like my whole family would hunt, and he doesn't hunt anymore. I was just talking to my friend about him today, and it's like he lives down there, and it's he's got woods all around. He doesn't hunt anymore. I'm like, oh man, he's probably got deer all around his property. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. And then Maryland, you hear too. Go to Maryland. This is
Yep.
a big sleeper
Yeah.
state.
Yep.
I do want to do. Don't you guys want to travel a little bit? Like, I'm with you. I don't know that I really would want to go to Iowa, Illinois, and all those places that are known for being just because you get a 145-inch deer, 150-inch deer out there, and you bring it back, and yeah, it's gonna sit in your trophy room and stuff,
Sure.
but you're gonna look at it differently than
Yeah.
the deer that you get
Oh, yeah.
here.
Right.
I mean, honestly, hunting again. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. For me, like hunting different places is just more about hunting different habitat and like just the experience of being somewhere else. Not so much that I know a 160-inch deer could walk by any minute, like some places in the Midwest. But I have a buddy that lives out in Illinois, big hunter, been a guide out in Pike County and all that.
Do
And,
a restroom.
Go,
TV
dude.
timeout.
Do it.
yeah.
Where is you got one down here?
Yeah, upstairs.
I got you. I got
There
you.
it is, through the kitchen door on the left. But yeah, he's and I went out there with him one year checking cameras and all their property on the outfitters' property and all that. And for me, just hunting different habitat in different areas. If I shoot 100, again, it's like I said, it's about the experience. Like, I'd love to go somewhere new. I mean, I've hunted a lot of new areas. Not a ton, not really for whitetail though. Most of my whitetail hunting has really been just up here in New England.
But if you want new habitat, I bet, like, yeah, Illinois will feel a little bit different, right? But don't you want to go the extreme, like Texas or Arizona or...
So personally, for me, I don't know what it is, but Texas, I don't. I don't have a ton of interest. I don't know what it is.
You know what? I wouldn't have either, but like going there the
Now that
last
you've been there,
few
you've been
years
there.
and like just taking walks through it,
Yeah.
it feels like you're in a different country, which is, at least it's a shock to the habitat thing. It's kind of cool. You're
Yeah.
like, man, I could see how stalking in the, like, I don't know, I would definitely not do the sit over a giant feeder in the middle of Texas on a fenced in
Right.
20,000 acre ranch. I just don't think that.
I think what is not appealing to me about Texas
But
is I like
stalking.
being in the woods.
Yeah.
And
It's
to me,
different.
Texas, it's not woods.
It's
Like, I like
bush.
being
Yeah.
in the woods. Mountains or anything,
So
something like that.
Northern Idaho is what I keep
Yep.
hearing too, is like
Yeah.
a cool.
We talked about going. Actually, I think I'm
Big
sure
woods.
Pat's the one I was talking about, like going there elk hunting. Because I haven't hunted. I've only hunted elk and bear outside of New England. I have not hunted deer anywhere outside of New England that I can think of. No, that's it. I've just hunted like Maine, Hampshire, Vermont, Mass, Rhode
I've got a
Island.
guy from Idaho. Speaking of that, he didn't want me to post like pictures and stuff. He just old school guy. I think he saw the Pat Burns that I posted the Pat Burns story and stuff, and he wrote me from Idaho, like a listener. It's cool that you got like this dude out in northern Idaho, and he's a badass hunter. He said, "Hey, I'm sorry for the delayed response." Okay, so I must have sent something to him. I don't remember, but he killed a deer in northern Idaho that was 13 years of age. So it was comparing it to like Pat's deer. 13 years of age. It's mentioned in the photos of Idaho's greatest whitetail bucks book. Honorable mention. I also killed a 15-year-old bull elk in Montana on a draw tag. A 15-year-old in the elk horns. As the draw required, a tooth was pulled and sent to the laboratory for analysis. I can share it was age was 15 years. The oldest bull killed that year in that unit. So he killed the oldest buck in Idaho one year, and then the oldest bull killed in Montana. in a different year.
Wow, that's crazy.
But we've gone back and forth on emails, and he's like, yeah, he just loves northern Idaho. He goes 10 miles away from roads, and he camps out for long times, and he just likes to be out in the middle of nowhere.
See, that's my thing.
Because you never know, you just
out.
don't know what's going to pop out. You don't have cameras up there. It's not like you've scouted a small thing.
You just
some giant can pop out, like that 13-year-old he killed. He sent me the picture of was this dark horn, like beautiful, just like Pat's buck, an anomaly. Had giant rack at 13, and Pat's is probably going to be 11 and a half to 12 and a half with a huge rack, you know?
That's crazy. But Pat's story, it's not about even that, the age. It's what he put into getting that deer.
It's all those,
The limited that I know about it anyways. Like
all
just
those years.
That's the story behind that whole deer. And I think that's why. I think it was mass bow hunting that declared that the deer of the year. And I think
Pat just won bow hunt mass deer of the year.
Yeah. I think that's so justified. Again, you don't know everyone's story.
Other deer scored better, but
and you don't know everyone's story, but I'm sure they have enough of them. And like, I think, again, I go back to the story. The story to me is everything, not how many inches, although that deer was huge.
At a certain point, the inches become part of the story.
And it was a big deer, but I think he probably I think that wasn't as big as all the years he followed it, correct? I think it was
a little bit, I think it was probably the third best year.
But again, it goes back to the story what went into it, the whole story. I mean, even like you were talking about before in the other part a couple times about how he, the wind was awful and everything and the worst wind, but he was so determined.
And he left the woods. He had to go. Part of it was he left.
That's right. Yeah,
he left the woods to go bring his kids out to a pizza place, and he went in smelling like pizza with the worst.
That's right.
With the worst wind.
Yeah.
And killed it.
Yeah. It's just again. I don't know if it's because I'm older, but to me, it's all about the stories and the stories. That's like, I could sit and listen I would love to go, it's funny because you talked about going, you were talking about doing, and I think you should 100,000% do it, is going to hunt camps. And, even if it's one a year.
Yeah.
2 years. And getting the stories.
Just doing a story about the camp. Every camp's got its own lore and its own.
And hear about all the personalities that are in that camp and guys that aren't there anymore, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
And the biggest deer that was shot or the craziest story. I mean, the story. Oh, man. I've heard you talk about that a couple times. And I'm like, oh, my God. I was like, that to me, that's so appealing. Like, I love going on YouTube and watching, looking up camps, whether it's Michigan, Upper Peninsula, whatever it is. I love looking at, watching those guys.
Somebody is gonna steal that idea.
Yeah,
I just want them to. I want you to know that you stole it from Kevin.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, from me. Yeah. No, but you do definitely go with that because
I think it would be awesome. I think Exodus Trail Cameras is gonna steal it, and if you do, I want free trail cameras for life. No, because they're the ones doing
the cribs,
the whitetail cribs, which is a great idea.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And again, the stories it's funny because I remember I used to get I don't know what's going on. My dog's going crazy upstairs. The
squirrels.
Legendary Bucks. Is it Legendary Bucks? Their books that they have, and I just reading those stories. It's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, what do we want to leave the folks with? Do we have anything else we want to hit on? We don't have to end it.
Well, we can talk about the fact that you guys both shot 2 nice deer last year. 2 bigger deer this year. So that's 4 bigger bucks, and that next year you guys aren't shooting shit, and I'm shooting 2 big.
I guarantee it. I guarantee that's gonna happen.
You don't have to worry about that one.
It's gonna happen.
Just kidding. No.
No, we're gonna be bringing you into a spot, and then you're gonna get
set me up, set the guy up.
Like I wish you got one this year when I put you on that community. That's true.
We went in that one. Well, it's funny because we went in that one spot, good spot, set up. We went there twice, and then we went once we were in Gun, right?
Yeah.
We went during Gun, and he's seeing the deer, and I'm not seeing shit. And I was set up in a great spot. I just bumped up a whole bunch of does. They might be coming your way. And nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just weird how it always works out.
Yeah, but that's hunting, man.
No, remember I put you in that spot in the community scrape, and it was the same patch of woods where I killed both of the nice bucks this year. But
and I had the guy blowing leaves for
Yep, there's a guy blowing
all the way to
leaves.
dark.
The guy last year, that 9 point I got last year was blowing. Guy was blowing leaves, and I think that's actually what made the buck get up
Yeah,
and start
possibly.
walking towards me.
Yeah,
It's all that
that's
makes
right.
sense.
Yeah, I
but
forgot about that. Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
listening to it. I'm like, you gotta be. I could see the guy, just everything.
Kevin
from his
could see
yard
him
just
too, I
coming
think,
in.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I watched
And
him
I'm like-
raking. I heard him talking to himself, and he was quite a ways, but it was just the way it was set up. I could see him good in his
But
yard.
it's funny. Remember, after that, I checked that camera that was on the community scrape. I didn't check it till like a month later when I went back in there again. And I remember I sent you pictures.
Yeah.
I was like, well, the morning, I think we went in there in the evening. That morning, there was a couple nice bucks went through
Yeah.
the scrape. He came in, nothing. And then after he left the following morning, or a few hours after we left the woods, there was another buck there. Remember? It
Yeah.
was like, and it was the 8-pointer I ended up shooting. Went through there.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The
yeah.
next morning in that same spot. Yeah.
Yep. But
You never know.
anyways,
You'd be a hell of a guide.
Yeah.
I can tell. people live here.
Anytime I've been hunting with him, he'll take me to his honey hole or whatever. Hey, go over there. I only see deer. I'm like, dude, I got deer all around me. Yeah, I'm not.
That's so
seeing
funny
anything.
because my wife, again, back to my wife, who is like all about the venison. It's like, yeah, Pat just shot another deer. And she goes, which Pat? Didn't he already shoot one? Didn't he already shoot one? When are you shooting one? That's all I heard all season.
Yeah, Kevin, you're gonna get like 3 nice bucks next year.
Well,
You're
it's
gonna-
funny
you're gonna-
because
between the states you're hunting,
it's funny because I said to my friend, the guy I went bear hunting with, I said to him, and I'm not usually a meat hunter, but I do love venison. My family, we all eat venison, obviously. And I had said to him when we were on the bear hunting trip, I said I just want to get venison this year because I want to do a ton of turkey. I mean, a ton of the sausage. And I also, this year, I was going to get back into just butchering my own deer, which I hadn't done in years. So I had all set up for that, to butcher my own deer. So I had planned to get like 2 or 3 deer this year. And when I had passed the first deer that I passed, and I sent him the video, he goes, what was your goal? I thought your goal was to get some meat in the freezer first. Why are you letting that deer walk by? But anyways.
We have to do a panel
So-
of this room, though.
oh, definitely. I was just gonna bring up Keith, forgetting his last name, who I interviewed. He was just telling me about how he's butchered every single deer, and he kills like 7 deer a year. Like he tries to get 6 or 7 deer. Like this guy, straight up meat hunter, and he was the man. But he was like, yeah, butcher all my deer, and his wife comes out and helps him, and he goes, they're so. It takes them forever because they get every tiny piece of silver skin and everything off. I mean, it's just a perfect red piece of meat. And that's what you get when you butcher your own deer.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
think
and,
everyone. I know it's not easy. I mean, I haven't done it in years because I just, again, make the excuse of not having time to do it. It's so convenient. But yeah, I would definitely highly recommend it. Everybody does it a couple times. Just get that full experience. You hear a lot of guys say it. They do everything from the beginning to the end. Kill the deer, drag it out, gut it. You've done everything with it. I think everyone should do that.
And it's actually, I think it's a great idea to have your wife help you.
Oh
butcher
yeah,
it.
right.
Because not only
My
'cause
wife.
you don't have a lot of time if your wives don't hunt to bond with them over hunting. And us 3, I think, right? If you talk about it, they're like, oh, cool, but they're not hunters, and
Yeah.
you
Well-
know, it's just kind of like a passive, like, oh, that's cool. I don't really care that much, but
Yeah,
that's cool.
exactly.
But if you can get them to experience, like my wife loves cutting meat. She fillets.
my
If I
wife,
catch fish, she'll fillet a fish in like 2 minutes. She's so good at it.
My wife doesn't want to see it. She does. My wife knows more about hunting than probably like a lot of beginner hunters. She when she worked in a hospital, she would talk to so many people, hunters and stuff, and she'd tell them about the rut and talk about stuff like that, and they'd be like, "How the hell do these guys breaking stuff over here? How the hell do you know
He's
that?"
too big. The guy's a big guy.
But she doesn't want to.
Put me in the
She doesn't want to butcher it. She's not into the. She doesn't want to see it. I got it hanging in the garage, and she's like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to
That's
see
why
it.
you got to get yourself a woman from a third world country like me.
On that note,
Kyrgyzstan. She was butchering chickens and cutting up fish from a very young
all
age.
I know is my wife lets me to hunt. And it's funny because you see a lot of guys and like, oh, my wife's a saint. Thank God for my wife. And yeah, you can't. I don't think you can be a serious deer hunter or hunter and not have a wife. If you have a wife, and not have one that's supportive, because it's too much of an addiction. That
You're right. That's the second thing that people always say. The first one is, as soon as the adrenaline's gone, I'm going to give it up. And the second one is my wife, and she is the best. Because you're right. You don't have a wife. If she's not, and she's gonna be gone quick.
Although I have to say, and my wife would probably agree. She won't take this personally, but I think Pat's wife is probably at the top of the list of anybody's wives. She doesn't have to just deal with hunting season. She has to deal with friggin' podcasts.
I know it.
The guy out scouting
suddenly,
scouting deer.
You heard it, babe. You heard it.
Scouting deer, all the time. And it's funny because I tell my wife all the time, not just with Pat, but he's the best example. I'm like, hon, my wife thought I was the only one that was crazy talking about deer. 365 days a year, and I'm like, hon, there's a lot of other guys out there that are out a lot crazier than me.
And you can level up on that too. It can start out in a different way, and then next year you're completely leveled up. Just like, I gotta go.
Yeah,
I gotta go for an hour.
I was telling my wife, I could start a podcast up like Pat, and you'll never see me on the weekends.
It's
so. And this guy's getting married, so he doesn't know what he's getting. He doesn't realize.
Check with him next year around the same time. We'll
he
check
doesn't
in.
realize that when he gets locked in, that the things shift.
I don't know. She's a big supporter.
Oh, she's
big supporter.
My wife was a supporter too, but things change. Trust me. They don't want to hear about it constantly. Trust me, they don't want to.
No, that's already evident.
Yeah, that'll never change. Yeah. They definitely don't.
Yeah.
And then whenever you get into a fight, that's the first thing that comes up. Oh, you just care about hunting more? They'll always.
I haven't heard that one yet.
All my wife cares is if I killed one. That's all she cares. If I come back and tell her an exciting story, she say, hey, you didn't shoot it? Why didn't you shoot it?
Yep.
That's all she cares about.
Oh, yeah, because it does come back to that, too.
Yeah,
then
she wants the venison.
They'll watch a documentary where, the farm systems are so bad and farming meat and all this, or, global warming, and they're like, can you get more deer? Mm-hmm. Can you fill the freezer? I want 5 deer this year.
I know, of all years,
I don't want to go to the
fill
store.
The freezer.
So, all right, that was a good podcast. A couple things maybe we'll edit out. Maybe
not.
I like keeping it, personally.
Organic. Keep it real.
Yeah, plus less editing, right?
You know how you were just talking about
we hate editing.
Editing
so
and
just
making it seem more pleasing?
Yeah.
No, keep it real.
Yeah.
Just roll it.
No.
Because it's just three guys talking
I
about
always
deer
do.
right
I actually do always keep it real.
You know?
I hate editing podcasts.
Yep.
The only things I've ever edited out of podcasts are towns. If somebody mentions a town, so if people listen, they'll see maybe there's a tiny break where it's like, whoa, why did this face just skip? Because I'm just editing out a town. That's it. I've never edited it out.
The other day I was listening to when you ran out of batteries.
Yep.
I was like, this is gonna cut away, and I was like, nope, he's changing the batteries. I'm like, all right.
Hell yeah. I want people to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. He doesn't want to edit. I get it. Trust me.
Yep.
Editing sucks.
Plus, people want to see that shit. They want to see the candid stuff.
Anyway, so, that was fun, guys.
All right.
Good time.
Tagged Out Tavern.
Yeah.
Tagging out.
That's it.
We'll be back next year.
All right. Signing out. Cool. That was fun.
It was awesome.
It's funny because I was saying that before about how, oh my God, I can't, you get a podcast every week. And every podcast, not every, but I would say 3/4 of them are so different. And I think that's cool.
It is.
You have such a different feel on each one.
Yeah.
Do you really want the same vibe and guys talking every week about their trail cam setup